So, if I can ask, how have you personally had to grow, or maybe what have you had to learn that has helped the company overcome this challenge of being the first in a brand new space?
One of the biggest growth areas that challenged us, particularly in the beginning, was looking back at some of the perhaps outdated or unnecessary training techniques and principles that we've seen in the past. I love this example. Historically, there were no left handed knights, right? When Josh and I were competing, any left handed participants were simply forced to use their right hand. But then recently, we had a left handed participant, and they were really nervous about trying a mounted spear throw with their right hand. So Josh and I took a few seconds and quickly realized that by simply turning the target around and approaching it from the opposite direction, we could easily accommodate a left-handed spear throw. And I know that's a very specific equine focused example, but I love sharing the story because it really represents who we are compared to where a lot of these practices came from.
Coach Caitlin here, action coach in Mississauga. I'm joined today by Josh and Jaclyn from Knight School Inc. That's Knight with a K. They are a sports based empowerment organization specializing in safety management, medieval arts, and team building. Both come from a background in full contact jousting. Josh was the winner of the History Channel's Full Metal Jousting reality show, and Jaclyn is one of a handful of female full contact jousters in the world. They have a vision to make medieval sports accessible here in the Greater Toronto Area. So, welcome to the Extra Mile.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So, if I could start us off by asking, what would you say are two or three things that you feel have made you successful in business?
For me personally, I am a self-diagnosed ultra learner, meaning that when I take on a project, I want to learn absolutely everything I can about the topic. The top thing that's made me successful is understanding that I know a lot, but there is always so much more to learn about any given topic. I think it's really important for us as business owners to understand that, yes, we are experts in our respective fields, but that does not mean our learning is done. When we stop learning, we stagnate and become quickly irrelevant. So personally, I really enjoy learning, so that's definitely contributed to being a key factor in my success.
That's a great answer. I love to hear that. I love to hear the lifelong learning that's taking place. Can I ask, is that something that you have dedicated time for? Do you plan ahead what you're going to learn?
We're so busy we have to plan ahead. But that being said, there's nothing like a good book, whether I'm lying on the beach relaxing at the cottage or trying to schedule time for it. So it's usually not too hard to schedule in.
And Josh, what about you?
I would have to say that my innate desire for creativity is used as a vehicle to change my environment. I really believe that if it doesn't exist, you're supposed to create it. What I think about a lot is where your skills and your talent intersect is where your ability to multiply exists. So whatever it is that you are passionate about, whatever you love, other people are generally going to love it too if you're passionate about it. So people look at problems. I think of it as solutions waiting to be discovered. How can we be creative? How can we move forward and progress in a different way?
That's really interesting. Is that something that you've always had? Is that kind of part of your DNA, or is that something that you've developed over time?
That's a good question. So I think it somewhat was innate in me, but it's developed substantially over time. It is key that if you identify passions and skills and where they exist, if you continue to work in that direction, you'll multiply those things. So for me, being creative, it became more easy because I just kept doing it. I just kept thinking about things in different ways rather than I have to go with the boxed approach of how, generally you're taught to do something, which is kind of how we came up with night school. It's definitely out of the box.
It sounds like you take a more hands-on approach to learning, a more trial and error approach, where Jaclyn is maybe more reading and studying. Has that ever been a challenge for the two of you to work together?
The opposite. It's why we work so well together. One of the big things that we learned very quickly on is how each of us works well and under what conditions we don't function as well. And we're quite lucky that it's exactly the opposite. So it's very easy when it comes to task delegation to split it up based on what we're both going to find easy and enjoyable, which kind of makes it the perfect partnership.
I'd have to agree. I think that our diverse ways that we approach problems is actually a tremendous help to how we work. And once again, that brings in that multiplication that allows us to delegate different tasks when we feel the other person would be stronger, and then we come back together and look at the final product, and then something great usually comes out of it.
Greater than the sum of its parts. I love that. So you guys are building a business together. Over the past year or so, what would you say has been your biggest challenge?
The super exciting part is that we created an entirely new industry. So night school has reimagined historical battlefield learning and even knighthood itself. But in doing so, we have an opportunity to increase people's awareness about history, how it's informed our present, and how this empowers us to form our future. So that being said, when we're the first for the marketplace, we also have to design the marketplace, which is a challenge, but it's also very exciting. And I really love the movie quote, "If you build it, they will come." And really, Night School Inc. is our field of dreams. There's a lot of people that are interested in this. Sort of feels like a resurgence of interest in the medieval era with shows like Game of Thrones and all the things that have come out lately. Even going back to A Knight's Tale, which kind of is one of our great stories of how it was exclusive to be a knight and you had to sort of trick your way in. We just opened a side door. So there's a lot of people that are trying to get in, and there's not a lot of people that are facilitating the entrance to knowledge. And that's really where we come in. We want to make it a welcoming space for everybody.
I love that. I love that answer. So if I can ask, how have you personally had to grow, or maybe what have you had to learn that has helped the company overcome this challenge of being the first in a brand new space?
We have very clearly defined values at Night School Inc. Accessibility, inclusivity, and empowerment. One of the biggest growth areas that challenged us, particularly in the beginning, was looking back at some of the perhaps outdated or unnecessary training techniques and principles that we've seen in the past. We noticed very quickly that certain experiences we had when we were being trained did not align with our company values or the experiences that we wanted to provide. Traditionally, these skills were taught in a very militaristic manner because they're meant for high-risk live performance situations. But we've removed the risk and we've removed the pressure and we've made it fun. So this challenged Joshua and I to dig deep into evaluating the best ways to offer our programs and our training. We do not teach people the way we were taught. We always come at all of our sessions with our company values in mind and try to find a way to ensure that every single person feels respected, confident, and able. I love this example. Historically, there were no left-handed knights, right? The word sinister comes from the Latin word referring to the left. Sinister literally means something harmful or evil will happen. When Josh and I were competing, any left-handed participants that we met were simply forced to use their right hand. But then recently, we had a left-handed participant in one of our horseback programs, and they were really nervous about trying a mounted spear throw with their right hand. So Josh and I took a few seconds and quickly realized that by simply turning the target around 180 degrees and approaching it from the opposite direction, we could easily accommodate a left-handed spear throw. And I know that's a very specific equine-focused example, but I love sharing the story because it really represents who we are compared to where a lot of these practices came from. And clearly being left-handed is not harmful or evil and, shouldn't be excluded in this day and age, right?
So it sounds like you've taken the training you received and the skills that you built and your own kind of experiences in this field and have kind of put it through a new lens. So you talk a little bit about being a values-based company. Where did those values come from? Were they always obvious to you, or was it a deliberate process, or did it just happen?
I think it kind of just happened. The three values have always been really important to both Joshua and I. My experience in the sport of full contact jousting was not one of inclusion. And it was not one of open doors, right? It was a lot of barriers being erected, being that there were no women in the sport competing at the same time as me. So it became very obvious that the challenges I was facing were not the same that my competitors were. And when Josh and I came together, we sort of solidified our views that that was not how we wanted to run things. And that's out of that conversation is where Night School Inc. was born.
It's a kind of a cool story. So when we were developing our logo, we were actually having a conversation with the gentleman who was designing our logo. And these three fundamentals accessibility, inclusivity, and empowerment came up in the conversation, and he stopped us and said, "What were those three words you said again?" So we were talking about what we wanted our logo to represent, and it actually became part of our logo. So it very quickly became foundational. It was foundational to our idea and mindset at the very beginning, and now it's woven and interwoven into every single thing that we do. We want to provide access, make people feel included, and to really empower them, to help them feel confident and courageous. That's really what we're trying to do in the world.
I talk to a lot of businesses who have core values. The values are maybe posted up on the website, or they're part of a marketing material, or maybe they brought in a consultant one weekend. It's amazing the transformation that happens in a business when the core values are actually core.
Yes.
100%.
When you live them, it changes.
If I was talking to somebody who knows you well, what might they say is your catchphrase?
I definitely have one. Josh does too. For me, you'll hear me say the phrase, you can't be what you can't see. So, this is something we speak of in the athletic world and specifically in discussions around traditionally underserved demographics. The importance of representation is something that is vital in every single industry, and particularly in discussions around inclusion, equity, and empowerment. This was my mantra for many years as I was competing around North America as one of the few female full contact jousters in the world. And now I carry that phrase into business with me. We should be celebrating our successes and showcasing our mentors, our peers, and our staff, and finding every opportunity to help others feel valued and confident. But now at night school, we want all our participants to be able to see themselves as knights, no matter who you are.
Say amen to that. So hard to follow that, but for me, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This for me is sort of shows our fundamental understanding of our role as team builders. Iron sharpens iron. So without other people, we can't learn and grow. So we learn and grow together. I think this really speaks about how we should be empathetic and compassionate in our approach to the people around us, because we are really here to make each other better. That's why we're all here. So if we make each other better, we, in doing so, make the world a better place. I kind of like to think of it too, that the iron sharpening iron is friction. So sometimes friction is necessary to sharpen us, to make us better. And really, when we experience friction, we shouldn't view it as conflict, but as an opportunity to grow and see each other's perspectives.
You can't be what you can't see, and iron sharpens iron. I can imagine each of you saying that to the people in your lives. that rings true. So it sounds like you've done a lot so far, right? You've come a long way, but can you tell us a little bit about the next step for you? Where would you like night school to go in the future?
So currently, Night School Inc. is a fully mobile service, and we offer business training and team building on site for various opportunities. We have plans within the next 2 years to add a physical sports facility. This will allow us to continue to provide our one-of-a-kind mobile services, and at the same time, it'll give us a space in order to develop and fully build out our athletic and fitness-focused programs. It will also give us an opportunity to enhance the community by basing some different programs and events for them, and giving the community the support of other local businesses, programs, and events. It's really a big passion of ours to sort of create a hub. So we're really excited to start that process, because we really want to create something that will bond all of us together and give us a space to all create the community that we want to be a part of.
I love the ambition of the vision, and I can't wait to see what it does for the business community here locally to have that kind of facility.
Us
Thank you.
too.
Thank you so much.
So speaking of the business community, if people are curious to work with you or to find out more, how can people find you, and who would be a good fit to work with you?
People can find us online at www.nightschoolinc.com, or on our socials, Night with a K, obviously, real deal Knights. Also at Night School Inc. on Instagram, and at Night School Inc. Canada on Facebook. We work with a large variety of groups and teams. So C-suite executives and business owners often spend a lot of their time and energy making comprehensive and amazing business plans and corporate strategies. But according to Harvard Business School, 95% of employees don't know the company strategies.
A lot of people don't realize that modern business is heavily influenced by historical warfare. After all, the modern strategic plan is simply a new iteration of the battle plan. So we run group planning and team building sessions that help translate the C-suite strat plan to the senior and mid-level managers and frontline staff. We help people understand their importance in the company and help ensure they feel valued, confident, and empowered. And we do all this while teaching stage combat medieval sword fighting. We work best with mid to large size businesses, private schools, summer camps, and other mid-sized teams.
I wish you both the very best in what you're building. You've achieved a lot so far, and I can't wait to see it grow. It's such an interesting business, and thanks so much for taking the time to tell us a little bit more about it.
Thank you so much for having us. We look forward to a bright future.